Good afternoon, everyone. Happy spring. Happy International Women's Month. I hope everyone is well. I'm Char Nolan, a member of the instructional team here at Rouxbe. Very happy to be here today. Great questions have come in so far. If you have a question that you would like to post, please do so. Before we go into the questions and other things, the first thing I wanted to talk about is, since it is International Women's Month, that I would highlight three authors that I'm very fond of. And one of them is Dr. Monica Agrawal, who has written Body on Fire. This is the cookbook to a primer she wrote about 4 years ago. I love the recipes in here. They're easy, they're simple, they're delicious. Her recipe for kale salad dressing is absolutely delicious. Dr. Agrawal is a preventative cardiologist in Florida, and she was also a Rouxbe student and graduated last year. So I love getting emails from her because it makes me very happy to see the Rouxbe Shield plant professional on her email. If you don't have a badge from Rouxbe, you might want to contact Student Services and speak to Dee or John and see how you can get your badge to keep on your communication, your business cards, or whatever. But this is a great book by Dr. Monica Agrawal. The next book is by Kathy Hester, and many of you may know Kathy's name. She's always busy writing a book. This is an air fryer cookbook, and I know that a lot of you do use an air fryer, which is great. And many of her recipes are also oil-free. So this might be something you would be interested in. Kudos to Kathy for a wonderful book. She has many, many books. This is one of many. And of course, last but never least, how can we not talk about this vegan chocolate cookbook by Fran Costigan, who's the director of our Essential Vegan Desserts program. And I always like to point out to Fran that I'm not a baker, but I love this book because it is a wonderful, wonderful guide to learn about the elements of plant-based eating, plant-based cooking, plant-based baking. And in here, Fran has a recipe for an oil-free chocolate cake, the exact one she made for Rip Esselstyn and his wife Jill when they were married. And I'm happy to say that I have made this cake deliciously and served it at a small dinner party to Dr. Colin T. Campbell. So Fran's recipes are good for any occasion. I also want to point out that Fran is a member of the Philadelphia chapter of Les Dames d'Escoffier. It's a philanthropic organization for women who are involved in the culinary world. And this coming Tuesday night, our chapter, the Philadelphia chapter, will be celebrating its 40th anniversary. And it'll be sort of like going to your college reunion and seeing people that you don't get to see all of the time. So those books, I'll put them up on the Facebook pages for all of you to see. Also, we have 3 Facebook pages. We have one for the Forks Over Knives program. We have one for Plant Pro, and then we have one for the Pro Cook. And then if you get over to Instagram, we have 2 pages there. One is Rouxbe, and that encompasses everything. And then we have one for Rouxbe Plants, where you will find all plant-based information that is really fabulous to use. So I think I have gotten most of my outline out of the way. One last thing before we jump into questions is, with spring around the corner, and if you've taken the Waste Not course, which I highly recommend, there's always room for full food utilization. I use a lot of celery. I'm sure you do too. I'm always making the tunaless salad and prefer to buy a stalk of celery, not the pre-cut stuff. So this is a 2-week-old sprig of celery, and it's getting roots. And when it gets maybe about twice this size and it's a little warmer outside, I'll be planting them in my yard. And let me say this, it doesn't look like the celery that you get at Whole Foods or your Publix or wherever you shop, but it makes me feel really terrific that I grew this celery from something that ordinarily would have been either in the compost bin or in the trash. So scallions work well. I haven't had success with carrots. So with that, I think that we're ready to begin. And I loved our first question so much. It's from Karen B. And she says that she knows what she doesn't know, or she doesn't know what she doesn't know. And she's new to vegetarian eating and was looking for a couple of basic tips. And I always say to do what you know. And by that, I mean, if you are a person who likes to eat a big, gigantic salad, continue eating the salad. If you're somebody who is trying to make the conversion from eating animal protein to plant protein, start out with beans, start out with making a veggie burger. If you go to the Rouxbe website and just type in Rouxbe veggie burger, there's going to be a recipe for you to try. And that's just a good thing to do. And I think that when you take the dive into a plant-based diet, you have to keep an open mind. And one of the reasons is that food might not necessarily look the same as it looked when you were in the animal kingdom cooking away. So the books that I recommended today are very, very good starters. I also always suggest the Engine 2 Diet by Rip Esselstyn. I always think that that's a really good baseline for jumping into the importance of adding greens, grains, and legumes to your diet, because that is the main foundation of following a plant-based diet. So, Karen, we're all in this together. Try following us on the Facebook page. People offer great ideas and selection for things to do. So I hope that this was helpful to you. And I think that's good. So the next question is from Mary G. And Mary is the proud owner of a brand new Vitamix. And, I love my Vitamix and I use it regularly. But sometimes I might be feeling lazy and say to myself, do I really want to clean out the canister? Do I really want to clean out the tamper? And I might go to a little singular Ninja that I have. But Mary's question was specifically about nut butter. And she's trying diligently to remove oil from her diet. And can she make nut butters in her Vitamix without oil? So I'm proud to say that, yes, Mary, you can. However, it's going to look a little bit different than the nut butter that you might be used to eating that comes in the grocery store with added oils and such to it. But your Vitamix will do a good job, as will a food processor. You've got to keep with it, stay with it. In other words, use your tamper a lot. Stop, open, scrape, et cetera, et cetera. That's why when making it in a food processor, the food processor just does all of the work for you. And when it is finished, whether it's in the Vitamix or in the food processor, I like to take it out and then blend it with my hands as though I were making either a snowball or I was getting ready to pitch the first game at Citizens Bank Park this Thursday when the season opener happens. But what happens when you do that is it's almost like kneading the nut butter, and its texture is going to be, because it doesn't have oil in it, I did add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup to help it along the way, and that seemed to do the trick. And when it's done, it tastes a little bit like a Buckeye candy, but you don't have to put the sweetener in. If you don't want to use the maple syrup, you could use warm water, and that also works just as well. But not to disregard the beauty of the Vitamix, I do want to talk a minute about almond butter powder, and I also have a PB2 powder. This is just blanched almonds. And it looks like this. and you can see it has a beauty. It's almost like a flower, almost like an almond flour, and I can feel some of the emulsion from the fats on my fingers. And all you do is add a little bit of water to it, and I have some water here. And you're going to stir, stir, stir. And then what will happen is that you'll get a really nice consistency that resembles a nut butter. That is very good for adding to salad dressings and other things. But you get the ticket here that you're going to stir it for quite a while. It's going to get to the thickness that you want to have it. They're great to have on hand. But let the Vitamix bring you great joy in making nut butters, and know that there are other options out there. And to increase the nutrient value of this, I added some raw walnuts to it because I'm always looking for a little omega-3. And I keep it in the refrigerator, keep it out for about 10 minutes before I use it, and it will work really, really well. So I hope that, do you have to soak the almonds? I don't soak the almonds, because when you soak the almonds, it's going to change the texture of them. But maybe Vitamix has a good recipe for you. So I want to hear more about your nut butter adventures on the Vitamix, because the Vitamix does not disappoint. That was a great question. Thank you so much. The next question is from Paulette. That was just the kitchen curtain. Don't worry about it. The next question is, what's a favorite snack that's vegan other than fruit and veggies? So one of the things that I hear from people a lot is they feel great following a plant-based diet. They sleep better. They have more energy. And I can attest to all of those, but they kind of miss the snack arena. And if you've been following the NCAA playoffs, there are snack commercials on every 7 seconds, it seems. And most of those commercials are for food that shouldn't even be called food. So crunch is the thing that people miss the most. So I like to recommend Mary's Gone crackers. Mary was the mom of a child with celiac. She didn't know what to do. And this is before being able to find gluten-free products was as available as they are today. So these crackers, I happen to like the seaweed variety, but she has many different flavors. And they've got seeds and such in them. This has seaweed, flaxseed, sunflower seeds. They're nice and crunchy, just what you're looking for. And you can serve them with hummus, or you can serve them with a nut butter. I'm also going to recommend, there is a man in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where the Amish are known to reside. And his name is Jerry. And when he retired, his wife said to him, "You're driving me crazy. You've got to find something to do." So he said, "Well, I like making pretzels, so I think I'll make pretzels." So fast forward to today, and if you're at a Whole Foods market in the Northeast region or the Mid-Atlantic region where I reside, Jerry's pretzels, Uncle Jerry's pretzels, are handmade, and he has one that is whole wheat. And rather than using salt, they're covered in sesame seeds. So you're getting fiber, and then you're getting some added calcium from the sesame seeds, and they're absolutely delicious. I was going to run over to Whole Foods this morning and get a package, but my timeline didn't allow that. So crunchy crackers. Stay away from any kind of cracker that says nutritious on the front or delicious. Because if you read the label, you're going to see that one of the first 5 ingredients may be salt or sugar or oil, and you really want to avoid those. I also happen to like Wassa crackers, and they're really delicious with hummus spread on them and some vegetables. Or there's a whole thing here about how in the plant-based arena, how everybody is jumping on the bandwagon to make plant-based foods, and they're jumping into the arena of snacks, but they're not really good for you. So like they say, if it's from a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't. I say explore and have fun and, spend a little bit more time for everyone at the grocery store. I can remember when I first became plant-based, I would carry a magnifying glass with me because sometimes the font on the box was so small, and I wanted to make sure that I was eating something that was whole food, plant-based, no oil, salt, or sugar. So Mary's does that, Uncle Jerry's does it, Fresh Fruit does it. And also try new fruits. Sometimes we get stuck in the citrus arena, or we've tried every apple in the world, but berries are great. Make a smoothie from some frozen fruit, and just keep experimenting because there's so much fun to do, and you have to be a little bit of explorer, shall we say, to bring these new foods into your kitchen. And the important part of it, and I speak from personal experience, if other people in your household might not be plant-based, that's okay, because this is time for you to focus on you and feel your very best. So that was a very good question. So thank you so much, Paulette. The next question is another great question. These are great questions today. So we're going to talk about two things. One is maple syrup, and the other one are dates. And in the United States, the Coachella Valley is the number one date producing part of the United States. And 60 years ago, all along the highway in Coachella, there were date farms where people would sell date shakes and date ice cream. Pardon that noise. So here's why I suggest to recommend either maple syrup or making a date paste, or you can even get date sugar. They have it at Trader Joe's. They have it at most specialty stores. You can find it online, made by the Date Lady. Another company is D''Vash, Devash. So here's the thing. If you look on a sugar label and you look down the nutrition side, it says 0.00000. It goes on. If you look at this bottle of maple syrup, it has 0 fat, 0 sodium, which is a plus, but it also has 30 milligrams of calcium, 2% of the daily allotment. You need to have 1,200 milligrams of calcium a day, so do the math. And it's also a good source of potassium. However, I actually do prefer dates for a couple of reasons. I think that you can control the sweetness a little bit more. And the other part about it is that it contains the same calcium, it contains more potassium, but it also has 3 grams of fiber if you eat 2 of these dates. So if you're hoping to up your fiber game for the day, making a date puree or a date paste might be the best thing for your recipe, in my opinion, because remember that we're supposed to be eating about 30 milligrams of fiber a day. So this is a good way to, add 3 milligrams to your daily allotment of sugar. And as for the xylitol question, I'm going to say a big fat 0. It's a sugar alcohol. It causes digestive problems. It's heavily processed. So stick with maple syrup, fresh dates, date sugar, et cetera, et cetera. And I hope that answers your question. I'm trying to think, it's escaping me right now, but there's a brand in conventional markets that's just, bragging about being wonderful for baking. I think it's like a form of stevia, but it's heavily processed. And when you read the label, it has other things in it. My suggestion is to tune in to one of Fran Costigan's events, because she knows everything about sugar. In fact, I'll give her a shout out right now, because I just finished writing an article for a magazine, and I needed a specific piece of information, and I knew that Fran would be my go-to. So, and look at this. Next question happens to be from Fran. Rosie A., I hope that is helpful to you. And I wanted to say one last thing. You can also use raisins. I make a really great fruit paste with raisins, which have iron in them. So remember that you want to think about the nutrient value of things. You don't want to necessarily think of convenience or calories. So the next one is from Chef Fran. And oh, she's so funny. Whenever we have a gathering at any event with Les Dames, and if you are a follower of Jane Esselstyn, you know about her Dr. Seuss stackers. And I have sort of, shall we say, refined the recipe a little bit. And every time we have an event, I get the call, can you make 100 of those sweet potato stackers? So a friend knows that on Monday and Tuesday, I'll be busy making those stackers. And it'll be fun to have a gathering at a restaurant that we all like and get to see people who we like. And this is from Janet B. Hello, Janet. Good afternoon. She buys hemp seeds at a big box store. And she wants to know if she should keep the hemp seeds in her kitchen shelf or in the refrigerator. So here's the thing. First, you want to check the expiration date on the bottom of the hemp seeds. If you have a good memory and you remember that you put them in the refrigerator, then you have them staying very, very fresh. My instinct and what I do when I buy flaxseed meal is the minute I get home, I just put it in the fridge. So that's my suggestion to you for working with your hemp seeds. And I'm trying to think, how big is a container of hemp seeds from a big box store? I think there's also hemp seeds in the Mary's Gone Cracker, by the way. For those of you who are in Plant Pro, when I was a student at Rouxbe in the raw assignment, I made wraps from colored wraps, and then I made homemade crackers with hemp seed, and the crackers were really, really delicious. I make them quite often around here if I don't want to treat myself to a box of Mary's Gone Crackers. This is from Sharon B. Oh, Sharon, this is for you. Sharon wrote a very thoughtful and interesting question that I read a lot about during the roasted vegetable assignment, and she's having trouble getting her vegetables to roast. So we're going to do two things here. First, I'm going to show you, you can't see it very well, but pan placement is the key to a good roasted vegetable of any kind. That's my first recommendation. And if you like to play Jenga or Tetris, then this assignment is for you, because placing the carrots in an equal array about an inch apart will allow the vegetables to roast beautifully. What happens is that if you take your carrots and you place them in a pan, if they're on top of one another, they're going to steam rather than roast. So the other important thing is the oven temp. I roasted those in my little oven here at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. So your oven has to be hot enough. And the other thing is, I mean, you can see a comparison between the two. These I made in the air fryer. These I made in the stove exactly as they're made in the assignment. I did put on this a teaspoon of tahini and a tablespoon of mustard and mixed it together. And it has some very nice, I think, caramelization on it. When they came out of the oven, they were absolutely delicious. And these are air fried. And even though they look kind of lonely right now, they also have beautiful caramelization on them, and I used nothing on them. So it takes me back to foods sometimes look differently than they did when we were adding lots and lots of oil. And feedback that I get from students is, oh my gosh, these vegetables taste so much better without the oil, because oil can sometimes mask the natural flavor of a cooked fruit or vegetable. So heat is the trick. That's what you have to do. So I hope that is a helpful answer to you, Sharon. And Anna S. Wants to know what I think of monk fruit sweetener. Aha. That's a great question. If you go to H Mart, the largest Asian grocery chain in the world, and you buy 100% monk fruit, it's very good. If you look at the package of it's in a red container. It begins with L. If you look at the back of the ingredients, it has other things in it. So it's a highly processed food, and I believe it has erythritol in it. So I don't use it because I like to stay as close to the ground as I can, as they say. So you might want to try a visit to H Mart to see, to try out their brand of monk fruit. Next question is from Fran. And Fran just ordered 2 pounds of organic dates from Israel. And I'm excited to see Fran on Tuesday night, but more excited that I'll get to have these beautiful and delicious dates all the way from Israel. She ordered 11 pounds of dates. So Fran, it might be the new date queen. I don't know. And yes, to raisins and prunes. Well, Fran and I have a love relationship with prunes. And unfortunately, these are the things instructors talk about when students aren't around. Prunes have a very bad rap because they're associated with intestinal health, shall we say. Fran and I, because of our families of origin, grew up loving prunes. Your grandmother made stewed prunes. You had them for dessert. They were absolutely delicious. A couple of years ago, they changed the name of prunes to dried plums, thinking that Americans would just jump on the bandwagon. And the last time I checked at the grocery store, they're back to being called prunes. And I also love actually making a prune paste. It's very, very nice. If you're making a salad dressing with prune paste, even date paste, I would suggest to use a white vinegar, because otherwise, if you use something like a balsamic, it gets really, really, really dark. So you want to lighten it up a little bit. This is from Monique T. Can I recommend some knives and pans? Someone sent me for Christmas a caraway, the new rage, a caraway pan that I have yet to use, but it came with a note from my friend who's also a cookbook author that you don't need 1 drop of oil with this pan. So caraway is what they're recommending. And let's see if I can open my cabinet here. I don't have any in here. I like a knife, a hand knife called Vitronix, Vitronix. It's made by the same people who make the Swiss Army knife. It's more of a chopping knife. It looks like a butter knife, but it is excellent. I will say this, that it doesn't really matter the brand or the price of your knife. It matters how you keep the knife. And by that, I mean not washing it in the dishwasher and also sharpening it. I sharpen mine after use, so I know that when I go to use it, it will already be sharpened. So you should have either a honing block or a good knife sharpener that you can use. So that's, we get that question all the time. And I think that sometimes people think that because they're enrolled in a culinary program, they've got to go and buy, a shun knife for school. But, let the shun be your graduation present from Rouxbe and start off with, we have a great unit on knife care, by the way. So, but that's another great question. Mary G is thanking us for the nut butter question. And, oh my gosh, she has sort of like the Tesla of Vitamix because hers has a cleaning function on it. Wow, that's very, very exciting. Mine doesn't, but I like that anyway. Thank you so much for sharing, and let us know how you make out with your nut butters. I think that's very exciting. So this is from Rosie. She's been whole food plant-based for a year. Congratulations, that's wonderful. Her husband is still having some intestinal issues. Any tricks to reduce side effects and discomfort? Could the problem be with the canned beans? Well, it's very interesting because Chef Eric and Chef Dan and I were having a conversation the other day about people's reactions to eating too much beans. And I'll share with you that we're in the process, and I tested it over the weekend, that instead of using beans, I used artichoke hearts that were canned, that I rinsed and that I dried. And then I used the chopped artichoke hearts instead of beans in the recipe that we have for the tunaless salad. So I think that canned beans have a place in anyone's kitchen, but there is nothing as good as using beans that you have washed yourself, because you have to rinse and wash them and make sure that there aren't any stones in them or anything like that. And I will add a little bit of baking soda to the water, and I do believe that that does alleviate any flatus that might be a result of that. And I also think that it might be important to look at the other fiber-rich foods that you're eating and sort of balance that out a little bit. The other thing that does help, and this may seem a little tedious, but I've had to do this for people, is if you're using any bean canned or ones that you have boiled yourself, put them in a towel, in a dish towel, and shake them a lot. And when you open up the material, you're going to see a lot of the skin has fallen off. So take the skin off, because maybe too much of that might be another irritant that your husband might be experiencing. I think that this is also kind of like a normal side effect, which might be good. However, I would recommend that you keep an eye on it. And if it persists, talk to a registered dietitian who might be able to give you further information. I don't think you need to take any kind of medication or anything like that. And I don't mean to veer away from the food discussion, but a great question, and congratulations again for your 1 year. That's really, really exceptional. This is from Amor Sola, and she's a fish cooker here. I might not be able to help you with this question. The fish fillet got so mushy and the sauce was not the rice consistency. Well, I'm not a fish cooker, but for any basic recipe, it's always important to check the internal temperature of your oven. I don't know if you roasted or baked this or pan fried it, but having an accurate temperature is always important. And as for the lemon dill beurre blanc, I'm not sure what your other ingredients are. What we'll do is we'll tag this question and send it to one of the other instructors who'll be able to answer it for you in a more efficient manner. But for everyone, the LCD readout on your oven, there might be an incongruity from the actual internal temp, and this is where you go and pick up an internal oven thermometer so that you can get a true readout for the middle shelf of your oven. So thank you so much for your question, and we'll be answering that question for you. Hello, Irene. She's had trouble getting nice pancakes without oil following one of the Rouxbe recipes. What is your recommendation? Because they stick in my nonstick skillet. Well, a few weeks ago, or maybe last month or another time, you can bake them. You can bake pancakes in the oven and they come out really well. I suggest to using the batter that you like, and then taking a roasting pan and using an actual sill pad or a silicone pad, and make sure that your oven is hot enough. I happen to be really fond of this brand called Great Jones. I don't know why, but they just seem to make everything really well. And earlier, pardon me, I had mentioned the caraway pan, and I will tell you that my friends who have them love them because they make gorgeous, gorgeous pancakes. And Rip Esselstyn just posted a video on his Instagram page using a caraway pan, and it did not stick. So I'm going to have to take mine out of the box. It's just so pretty. I kind of hate to open it. So let us know how you make out. Try baking them, or try getting yourself a caraway skillet. People are raving about them. That's a very good question. Thank you so much. So this is from Mary G. She has a question about date paste and maple syrup. When you substitute those 1 for 1 or 1 for maybe less, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but for example, if it calls for 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of date paste. So that's how I work, and it seems to work well for me. And even using a date paste, the batter that you're working with is very, very moist and seems to do the trick. So the other thing is that making your own date paste is far more economical than buying date syrup or whatever. So I'm looking around here trying to make sure that everything that we put together for today has been done. I happen to be a big fan of these miniature peppers, and I like to throw them in the air fryer, and they're really delicious to eat, and they're good on a homemade pizza. They're delicious raw. An excellent source of vitamin C. So if you're looking to increase your vitamin C intake, peppers are a very good way to go. And lastly, if you really want your berries to last longer than they do, wash them, clean them, dry them, stick them in a jar, cover the jar, and I will tell you that your berries will last you for 3 weeks. So berries have become a very popular item. Dr. Greger is always telling us to eat blueberries and blackberries and other kinds of berries. So I think that we are just about done. I don't see any more questions. I love when Patrick sends me the roster of who's coming to today's class. I always like to see who's coming and who's there. And for those of you who will be celebrating Easter this Sunday, I hope that everybody has a great Sunday. And signing off from the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, I'm Char Nolan, and I will see you next time. Bye now.